This video is not a cry for help, nor is it the claim to self-mastery. It's more just reflections on the realization that a lot of the trauma I went through as a young child, specifically being in and out of hospital with a lot of operations, how I dealt with the recovery process, having to report back to parents and doctors whether things were getting better or worse, as well as being isolated, being out of school through a lot of the recovery process, shaped my subconscious mind into how I dealt with things going forward into adulthood. I realized that a lot of the habits of thought that I had built weren't necessarily things that I needed to be doing, and that my identity wasn't as concrete as I once believed. I have realized that I can get out of a lot of those thought processes if I just quieten my mind. Because as a child I was taught that I was broken, I had a vision in my head constantly of Adam when he's good, Adam when he's happy and everything is all right. And this led me to do drastic changes with my body to prove to myself or the world that I was better. When I became a young adult, when I was 16, I bulked up to 300 pounds. But I'm a skinny guy and I didn't hold that weight too well. So I wasn't happy still. I still thought something needed to change. So I went on a large cut and lost all that weight, and I look a lot better now. The problem is, although my situation has changed, the inner voice never did. I have never really been happy in the present moment with how I am now. That's not my fault, and that's not because of the situation. It's because how I've been taught to think. Those thoughts aren't me, and they've never been me. My identity is not as fixed or set in stone as I once thought it was. Everything is just a byproduct of my circumstance, and the only thing that really is me is who I am in the present moment. And if I am overthinking or worried in the present moment, then that is going to be a constant for my entire life. And this can greatly impact the way that you view the world, your environment, and how you interact with those around you and your loved ones. I'm someone who hates negativity because my end goal in life is positivity and everything's going to be okay. But if who I am in the moment is someone who has a mind that is slightly angry or slightly negative, this is going to impact the way I view my loved ones, the way that they interact with me, the way I open or close conversations, and that's never going to be a benefit. If I can learn to be happy in the current moment, regardless of my situation, then the chances are I'm only going to have a better life. To a very large extent, I am someone with a big ego and a person who is self-obsessed. It kind of makes sense. As a young boy, I was forced to constantly think about myself, and the problems in my life that impacted me the most were always the things that were going on with me. But as you grow older and those things aren't problems anymore, that ego and those thought patterns follow you. Those thought patterns never leave you. Becoming a man is something that I've always looked forward to. I remember in school we would do a prayer at the end of assembly, and I guess you're not really taught what to do in a prayer, well, at least in the school I went to. So I would always just think about Adam in the future. Who's Adam going to be? And he was always a happy person in my head. But that self-obsession and that ego that I've gone through life with and I've never gotten rid of is something that as I've become a man is only going to hold me back. Because what do I want to be remembered as, and how do I want to be viewed? Those things that are only dependent on how I interact with the people I love and the people I work with and my community. And if I'm unable to shake that self-obsession and that anxiety, that negative thought and that ego, then I'm just going to be a worse person. The present moment is something that I've never truly lived in, ever. I've never really lived in the present moment because I've never given myself an opportunity to be happy. And this was out of my control as a young boy, but as a man now, I'm basically choosing to not be happy in the present moment because of an internalized negativity towards myself. So if I can learn to be happy in the present moment, then I will interact with my loved ones in a far, far more positive way. I am no longer in service to myself, and I don't think anyone really should be in service to themselves. Because if all I have in life is myself, then I'm never going to be happy. Wanting to be a better man because as a young boy or as a young adult I felt inadequate is only serving my ego. And I'm realizing now that in order to be a good man, I can't care about myself as much. My ego needs to be something that I drop, because I think your identity is never truly fixed. Because who is really aware that you're thinking? Who is aware that you're seeing things, that you're smelling things? That sense of self isn't something that we really understand, and whatever consciousness is, I don't think it's as personal as you're led to believe. The world, in some way, is going to force you to be someone who serves it. Whether you're working a job, and most of us work jobs that we don't necessarily like, and you're taught to do things by the company in a way that the company sees fit, or whether you're going to school and you're taught certain rules that you have to follow, you're molded by the world to be a certain thing. And I think when you have an ego or a high sense of importance, you never really approach anything with love. And I think that limits you in life from really, really being an individual. Because you shouldn't want to be an individual to serve yourself, you should want to be an individual to serve those around you. And I think the main goal in life is love. Most people have a great desire to meet someone and fall in love and then have kids and have a family, and that's based all around love. A lot of people are very religious, and God, in the truest sense, is just love. The highest purpose in life, the thing that keeps all of us going, is love, and if we don't have love, then there really isn't any point to living. I think it's true when they say in order to love someone else, you have to love yourself, but I think there's a very fine line when it comes to loving yourself and loving your ego and your identity and your goals and your successes. Because it doesn't really matter what you do. My parents and those around me don't really view me any differently now compared to when I was younger and I was in and out of hospitals, or when I got really, really big and was doing damage to my body. They still love me the same. But if you'd asked me at 19 how much happier would I be when I got to the point I wanted to get to when it came to the weight loss, I would say a tremendous amount happier. In order to love myself, I just have to love the world. I have to love life and existing. I shouldn't love Adam too much. Because if I love Adam too much, then I'm putting too much stock in my own successes and my own body and my own identity and my own personality, when none of those things are really fixed. To blame the world for what has happened to me, or to blame others for what has happened to me, is only going to make me a more negative person. And to love the thought of myself in the future is going to stop people from being able to love who I am now. I'm certainly not a negative person, but I understand now that if I constantly look towards the future and the man I am in the future as the source of my happiness, then I'm never really going to enjoy life, and those around me are never really going to feel the love that I have to give the world. The ego is something that fascinates me because it's something that I've been so fueled by and so driven by my entire life, and it was born purely out of a place of self-loathing. It needs to be something that I'm able to let go of. I will do in life whatever it is that best suits those around me. I will obviously look towards the things that I enjoy, but if I approach those things with a sense of ego, then I'm not even enjoying those things. I'm always running away from myself. When you learn that the way you achieve things is self-isolation and spending time in your own mind, it causes you to push the people around you away. When I first gained a huge amount of weight in the summer from year 11 to sixth form, from like 15, 16 to 16, 17, that summer I spoke to none of my friends because that was how I did things. And then when I lost a huge amount of weight, I went traveling and I didn't speak to anyone because my entire mindset was I will go away and learn things about myself and I'll change, and then when I come back, then I can be happy and then I'll be a different person. And as much as I was able to come back and have achieved the things that I wanted to achieve, the moments, or the present moments in those couple of years were never really happy moments for me. And if you die in that time frame, then it's only you and the people around you that lose out on life, because life isn't about success or achievements or winning. I think I'll title this video Overcoming Negative Thoughts via Self-Mastery, but this isn't a big claim that I have mastered myself and all is good now, but it's just a realization of what I have been doing and how I can do it now in a far calmer way. But I don't think you're necessarily defined by your karma and you'll get bad things if you do bad things, or if you commit sins then you will be doomed to hell. But if you're unable in the now, which is the only time that you have to let go of that emotional baggage and free yourself from the things that you think hold you back, or the negative habits you have, certain vices, then you are going to live a worse life and you're going to not get what you want. Because I don't really know what I want. My identity has changed so much throughout my entire life. My interests, the music I like, the shows I like, the things I thought were good, the things I thought made a person good, have changed so much. So I can't ever really say who I am. because that's always going to change. I've obviously always wanted to become the best version of myself, but now I don't think that becoming the best version of myself is even anything about getting rid of the things that are wrong with me or becoming somebody that I think the world will approve of. But it's about showing up to every single moment and every large life event and every small life event as someone who is truly happy and truly content, because only then are you able to add value to anybody's life. If the value that you want from life is something that you'll never have in the present, then you're never going to be able to give anyone anything that they should even want to take. You shouldn't be teaching anyone anything. Hello. Beautiful dogs. So when you're going through operations or you're changing your body and you're constantly weighing yourself the next day to see if anything has changed, your mind never really stops racing. Your thoughts never stop. And there's no benefit to constantly thinking, because most of your thoughts are going to be in the future and they're going to be potentially anxious. Being happy isn't the reverse of being sad, because I think being sad is constantly thinking about things that aren't real. I think what being happy is just noticing everything that is real. Because right now, if I am thinking about becoming a great success or achieving something that I don't currently have, I am thinking about things that aren't even real. And that is born from a fear of things that could go bad. I think being happy is just noticing what you have, looking out to the beautiful river, hearing the sounds of the wind, seeing the dogs that go by, and being content with that in the moment. You need far less to be happy, but I think because you need far less, it's far harder to be happy, because everybody always wants more. Especially now with social media, you can kind of look at anything that you want to look at. You can watch any show, you can get a second-hand emotion from anybody. But that's not going to make you happy, or that's not going to make me happy. Only in certain times have I been able to really enjoy the moment, and then when those moments have passed, it's been about when's the next moment, or how can I make sure that I can have more of these things. And those thoughts are never, ever, ever coming from a place of I am deserving of them now. It's I'm not deserving of them now, but I will be in the future. And if the young boy sat in assembly with things that were genuinely out of his control and who was dealt a slightly unfortunate circumstance could look to the 22-year-old version of me, I don't think he'd be disappointed, but he would certainly be surprised that not much about me has really changed. But that's because Adam is only ever the person he is in the now. I will never be the man I am in the future, because the future never comes. The present is eternal. And it's going to be difficult because it's of my nature to think so much about how I can achieve these things. But what I need to do is learn to stop thinking. Only when you confront the things that you think hold you back are you able to move forward. But in confronting those things, you can't be upset with them. You have to integrate them as a part of your personality and just accept them. So many of the things that you're taught to think and you're taught to believe aren't up to you. And they shape who you are, and you create a false sense of self. We're all far more similar than we are different, but the beauty of humans is we express ourselves in many different ways. I think everyone should be so free to express themselves, and when you see someone expressing themselves, never look down on it, because all someone does is what they perceive as best for them and those around them. I really do think that karma or sin or emotional baggage or vices or bad habits, whatever you want to call them, the relationship that us as humans have with them is potentially something that's slightly misdirected, because it's not something that you need to feel guilty to the world for, or you need to feel guilty or sorry to others. It's something that you need to forgive yourself for, and realize that you only did those things because you were unhappy, or because you were scared, or because you wanted to be happy and you were filling a void. And if you accept that the bad things that you've done in life weren't necessarily born from your own evil, but from your own misdirection, then I think it frees you a huge, huge amount. My ways aren't as set as I once believed. There's so much more opportunity for learning, for growth. My story is something that I've written in my own head, and I have really no control over that unless I live in the present moment. The only way to really take control of life is to take control of the now. And the way you take control of the now is by letting go. by being happy. I'm pretty sure I've done this whole video without even smiling. Miserable English man. Learning to just shut up. Stop your thinking. And how do you do that? I think there's loads of different ways to do that. Hobbies, whether you do something creative like writing, art, playing music, singing, meditation, exercise, anything that takes you out of that state of constantly thinking and puts you right in the present. And then when you do that, you're able to notice when thoughts come in and recognize that those thoughts aren't coming from you. So your ego isn't really you at all. And I think people who might think similar thoughts to me will be people who have potentially gone through traumatic events in the past and have developed certain anxieties or certain negative thought patterns. And the best thing that I think you can do is reverse engineer a lot of your current worries and associate them with things that you went through in the past, and realize that you don't have to stay in the state of unhappiness that you're in. And true happiness is always right now. And for someone who wants to be in control of the future, that can be frightening. But it's also very freeing. Like I said before, you need to love yourself in order to love others. But if the way in which you're going to learn to love yourself is by giving yourself grace and forgiving yourself for all the things that you were angry at yourself for, angry at the world for doing to you, then that is how you love others too. To learn something about yourself and realize that you are not as set in your ways or as important or as individual as you once thought, then applying that to others is by not taking too much offense in their actions and not judging them too much. Because it's impossible for you to realize that you are allowed to fail and allowed to grow and allowed to forgive yourself for your wrongdoings and then judge other people when they do bad things to you. I think a good way to end the second video I've made is explaining that although this is a much different tone from my first video, the motivation behind it is the same. It's just been me trying to figure out what makes me tick and how I can discover the inner strength inside me. But in doing that, I've realized that what makes me strong and what makes me unique is what makes everybody strong and unique. If you're looking to the future to give you happiness that you assume you don't currently have, even when you achieve the things that you're going to achieve, if you can't be happy now, then you're definitely not going to be happy then. You're worth just as much now as you're ever going to be worth, and you're worth just as much now as everybody else. Goodbye, super fucking sick mate.